Well, hello, and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm old who.
And I'm Victoria Wheeler. I'm new who.
And we're taking a break of going through our normal journey is because we never did our overview with the three of us on Eve of the Daleks and Legend. The Sea Devils aired last week. Jeff will not be with us. We're hoping maybe he can jump in later and get his thing because he is the Sea Devil expert.
Yeah.
More so than me, even though me and him will both agree that, I think Vic, you'll agree that the Sea Devils, the John Pertwee one, that's one of my favorite unit stories.
No, it's a great new, because it's a new monster, right? And it's a new monster that really works. Yeah, it really works. So,
and that one's a six-parter. I don't think bugs me. I don't think it's
yeah, because there's so much really good new in there.
Yeah, and there's a good stuff in it. But we'll get to him, and we'll get to that one eventually, and I'll definitely invite Jeff onto that when we cover it.
Yeah.
But let's start. We didn't do Christmas Eve because stuff came up in my life, and we all took a 2-week pause, which was the first pause we had taken in 5 years. It was probably good. But here we're going to go, and we're going to start with Eve of the Daleks. And I'm going to start on this one because if I wasn't happily married to my wife, I could probably stalk Asling Bea. She is I've known who she is for about 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe, since I went down the deep rabbit hole of British panel shows. I discovered QI, and she was on that, and she's on 8 out of 10 Cats. And I've watched her stand up live at the Apollo and stuff like that, and I find her incredibly funny. And I've seen her make John Malkovich almost pee himself on a chat show. Where he violently vibrates. And
she's great,
very good. I like it. And I was interested in see this, but that's only part of it. I like this one. It was definitely the most COVID-y production.
Yeah.
But I think it
that
worked.
Groundhog Day thing allows them to you described, the Star Trek. We got one corridor,
2 hallways,
right? 2 hallways and 2 rooms.
Probably some building in Cardiff that smells of cat pee and wino.
Yeah. And that comes across. They run with that.
Oh, should we clean it?
No.
Because set designer's going, I don't have to judge. There's nothing to judge.
Right, but I love the fact that the name on the building is just because the S has died.
Do you remember a play? It doesn't survive well into modern time because it's Hot L Baltimore.
No.
There's a play, and that's the premise. It's this rundown.
Yeah.
The play takes place, and the movie takes place, and there was a sitcom. It takes place in this seedy hotel.
There aren't many. There aren't. Many of the other kind.
The light could be on in Baltimore in the 1970s, and it would still be, shady. I remember going to places in Baltimore, first at like 18, going down their strip, like the adult strip, and going, whoa, and going, okay, I'm kind of grossed out. I'm getting the hell out of here. I had gone to Hammerjacks to see, some glam metal band with my roommates at the time.
Yeah, Hammerjacks was a good club, Yeah,
it was nice. But I like this one. It was neat. It was simple. I just want to talk on it as a Who episode. It was fun. It was functional. It was entertaining. The other comedian actor who is the other guest
plays Nick.
Nick, I don't know him as well.
That was one of the things.
I've seen him, but I'm not sure where I've seen him.
A Johnny Salmon.
Yeah.
Johnny Salmon, and I think you didn't watch it aired, and there are extras that they're airing interviews with the cast and stuff that they're airing on BBC America, and they all of the companions and doctors say that they were unaware of his work or had only seen him in 1 or 2 things and were excited and to work with him once they saw him and Ashley together.
Oh my God, they're amazing
because
together.
they riff off of each other, and John Bishop was like, "Oh my God, they're hysterical." I was hurting. I was laughing so hard at the two of them together. So they were really looking forward to seeing it come together because he was so good to work with and stuff. He's in a TV series right now called Chivalry.
With Wanda Sykes is in it. I just IMDb'd it real quick, and she's in it. So I may check that out.
She's brilliant.
She is an incredibly good stand-up comedian, and she's from our area where we grew up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's a military brat like you, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And wound up in Tidewater Southside area. So, but yes, Virginian who complains bitterly about that great big Confederate flag in Colonial Heights. She's driving home to visit family.
I don't blame. Good God.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, I liked it. I liked the time loopy. Did you like the machine gun Daleks? I kind of did.
Yeah, no. The concept that Daleks get smarter, that Daleks can adapt, makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. It makes so much sense. Like how, like the Doctor's like, I'm going to use my sonic, and they're like, you've done that before. That's exactly pinpoint Dalek behavior, right? The fact that the Doctor could fool them twice is not really sensical. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's what did you think of the plot of this, the main plot? Because I want to talk about the side plot that is going to advance into the next story. And
well, first of all, I want to say, as you're saying, it's a ripping yarn, right? Like it works fine, and it gets an 82 on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Like it's a watchable story, but in terms of the general plot, it wasn't new, it wasn't invigorating, it wasn't it ran for me like some specials do.
Exactly.
Like it's supposed to have these big banging things. And now I will say I'm not a fan of Groundhog Day the movie. I get it, right?
It's overdone.
It's very smart, but the concept is a little overdone, and it's now it's just sort of a trope, and I'm not sure that they executed that as well. It didn't thrill me. I wasn't excited by it. I just, it's a sit back and enjoy it. And Asling Bea was extraordinary. I also think that Jodie's very fun, and
I do too. They let her have fun in this.
Yeah, I increasingly like the sort of bipolar swings,
Yeah, that's kind of it's kind of like what you did, except she doesn't get angry at someone really. She gets angry at herself.
At herself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it is very internalized her because she.
I will not let this happen because of something I've done.
Yeah, and it's been consistent that way, and it is built that way that this Doctor takes it all upon herself. That she internalizes it, and I mean, it's not like that's something we all know in real life. That's a very human, individual reaction to life.
I think it's a very female reaction too.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, where women were, culturally taught you must always be
socialized.
You should always be June Cleaver, and you should be beating down the Roseanne Connor, and you're also going to become Anne Bancroft in Requiem for a Dream. It's all those that's kind of the my life is horrible. Yeah. Not my life is horrible, but I'm responsible for this.
I'm responsible for all of this. No, apologize for your existence.
Yes, it's awful.
It is. But it is part of this Doctor, and as you said, it's consistent, played all the way through. And I like her take on the Doctor. Critics aside, writing aside, I like the so much energy.
Exactly.
So much.
That's the argument I've used, and people, and not my doctor, people goes, well, that's not a legitimate argument. It's like, yeah, it is. Why is that not? She portrays this character with specific energy that draws me in.
You cannot say that that's not a legitimate argument when when we talked about in Robot, we talked about Tom Baker coming out of the TARDIS in 6 different outfits and talked about his take on the Doctor and how it was different.
It's all based on his energy.
Yeah.
I think,
exactly.
And I think that's, I'm a huge Matt Smith fan.
Play a big, and floppy Doctor,
Yeah, and Matt, that frenetic, shimmy, he's got this little, he's doing the shimmy all the time. His upper torso is always moving up and down like a piston.
Yeah, but Baker is the classic example of that.
He's the one that just basically creates a character based on pure physical energy.
Yes. And so if you're going to say there's an illegitimate way to talk about doctors, you
an actor should be trying to create. They should be trying to be honest in their portrayal, right. And that's going to create energy, which either end if they're the bad guy and that part of their character's purpose is to make you uncomfortable.
Yep.
They should have a good actor will set off that energy. A great actor will. Where you go, ooh, I'm scared. I don't think you watched it, but Jessica Jones, David Tennant as the Purple Man.
I did. I watched that because I read that comic early on.
Yeah, and him just standing there still.
He's the most villainous guy I've ever seen.
Yes, and you feel uncomfortable whenever he's on screen, and he's standing still. But there is an energy to David Tennant's performance that shoots out the screen.
He's seriously the most villainous person I've ever seen, and just cruel for the purpose of being cruel and enjoyment of it. But yeah, this is you can't be a Doctor Who fan and negate, Patrick Troughton brings an energy to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
he does it with costume and props a little bit more. And the mop head and he shows up dressed in a way that tells you what's going to happen, and Baker does something similar by trying on different outfits. So it's bullshit. So
it is.
That's just bullshit. So, but yeah, I'm sorry, I keep doing this lean back, and that makes an ugly noise. Apologies.
But this one plot-wise was basic, and it is a special. It is the specials. Yeah. I whine. Let's just say it. I whine about the specials when it's the Christmas special or the end of the year where it's the regeneration and it becomes about that and they're over, and it's kind of shoehorned in. I like a special that is just going to entertain me, and that's what they for. And the really good ones are that. I think the Matt Smith one, the Christmas Carol with Michael Gambon works for me.
Oh, Waters of Mars.
Waters of Mars works for
Waters of Mars is one of the greatest episodes of Doctor Who ever.
Yeah. And it's just this sometimes they don't work. By himself. They don't work.
Sometimes they don't.
This one's a perfect Sunday, holiday entertaining, right. And that's what it is. I think. Yep. Let's start with the side. I think Alison Bea and closed his name. Asling Bea and Miss.
Johnny Salmon.
Johnny Salmon. They're great. Even when she says the most horrible stuff, that Irish "I have no filter" about the room, and the looks on all their faces when they realize that his storage thing is all the stuff his exes have left in his apartment, and Yaz doesn't say anything, but she's just kind of looking and leaning away.
It's kind of cringe. Yeah, it's kind of cringe.
So, and she says all the horrible things and then realizes that she's not a very likable person at the beginning. You know what I mean? She's unhappy. And I like kind of what goes on with them. It's not the greatest high art, but I find them very good together. I enjoy it. Uh-huh. They're very good together, and it's funny. She's very funny in this.
Oh, she's hysterical.
Yeah, she's great. And her mom calling.
I mean, seriously.
All I did was think about you that whole time.
Yeah, I know. But
the
both
lines
of us
will be busy.
Yeah. No, she has a couple of really good moms. You haven't met my mother, right? Like, I thought of you too, right? Like,
oh yeah, my mom would be saying that even with a cell phone. But the lines, there are no lines anymore, Mom.
You think that I can make my mother call at a time like I can't make her do anything, right? That's absolute truth. But she's she just made it fun. The cast all hit their marks. It's just a Doctor Who. I wouldn't have given it an 82%, but I'm kind of glad that a generic take on this, was that positive, right? Rotten Tomatoes is just sort of it's a compilation of so many opinions and things, and the other one was I can't remember who the other what the other thing was with the other reviewing site was that gave it such good reviews, but the other one was the Metacritic gave it 76, right? Like, so it just comes out, that rate's a little bit higher than I would rate it, but AB Club gave it an A-, Radio Times gave it 4 out of 5, so it's just
meant to be.
It's just meant to be light and fun.
That's what it should be, and I mean, we hope people got to remember that that's what Doctor Who should be for. It's a family show, and it's really meant to be fun.
I honestly believe that that's what Chibnall is doing, and part of why people, when they critique Chibnall's writing, my guess would be most of them would be Moffat fans. And I was going to pose this question to Jeff, like, as a kid, right? And he famously watched Who for the first time when he was like 3 years old, right? Like,
he was really tiny. He was like 5 or 6. Yeah.
And so, but loved it. And I would say that sitting down with any random Jodie episode would hook a kid faster and more effectively than Listen, which is one of my favorite Doctor Who's.
And I think you're right. And as a Moffat fan, and as me as the uber Moffat fan, is what I think has been. And this is, and I'm going to say this generalist fandom, but and use Who as it is, fans like the kids that tuned into Eccleston and Tennant at at 6 or 7, and grew up with it being a certain way. Now they're maturing. I mean, the show's been back on for 17 years, so now they're in their 20s. And fans, and I'm a comic fan, and comic fans get like this, is as they get older, they want the writers and the people making that product and that form of entertainment to keep it at whatever level they are at, to grow with them and stay with them and not think about that they have to attract someone new.
Right.
But they do have to attract someone new. And I think Chibnall is trying to make this as accessible. And even though with Timeless Child and going back on canon, but the majority of his episodes are like you said, you can watch it in a bubble, and people at different ages can find something for it that they like, and it talks to them.
I mean, we could talk about all of the Moffat episodes that we love and how it would sail over the heads of any 8 to 12-year-old.
They're right. He's right. He writes a little bit more for the fan.
He writes for adults who are going to get his humor, right? He likes to land a good line, right? Yeah, he likes to hear his. He
likes to hear his words spoken. I mean, he's that writer, and I those are the writers I tend to like.
Yeah, but I have to also say that it's not just the fans who came to it with Davies' reboot.
Oh, I think it's worse for the people coming from earlier.
From before, because they want their Doctor Who. And like I keep having to explain to my kid that I am the most irrelevant consumer of media that there is. According to all the demographics and all the commercial and all of everything, they, the minute I enter my demographic range, they stop caring about me. Yeah. Right? The 18 to 34-year-old male, who spends all of their money on consuming media and everything is but the fans of old who grew up on it are in the same category with me. They just are. And we are, even though we probably have more money, right? Yeah. We're not the target audience.
Yeah.
Of any media.
Well, I think with older fans like Jeff and me, and then since I didn't start, and me and Jeff have been doing Runcible, I've realized that I never consumed this really as a child.
As a child, right?
I did it as a teenager.
Right.
And up. So it's different. So I had to, but I just like a good story. So you can tell me a story, just tell me a kid's story, an adult story, or a kid's story, or whatever. Just tell a good story, and I'm fine, because I think a story is a story. It's how it's delivered and how it's taken. I don't want to read
right.
the Legend
you're
of
the
Ken.
Theater kid. Right.
Yeah, but I could. But I think a lot of old school fans, Jeff and our followers and the people we interact with that are Jodie fans, like Jodie's, because Jeff definitely feels this is more like old Who.
Yeah.
And I agree with him, because it is more like old Who. The objection to Chibnall's writing, I understand people don't like his writing. I get it.
It's their right.
It's their right. But to say that Doctor Who's never been written so technically poorly, like all the exposition, all this. I just watched Nightmare in Eden, and I apologize, Jeff, because I am enjoying season 17, but the one that really bugs me is, like, if you're going to love season 17, which has huge problems of no money, because Graham Williams was working on half the budget plus inflation, and there's a really dodgy sets. But you cannot say that an old Who script at its weakest is better than what Chibnall's doing. They're like going, it's like the thing is, and I'm not talking about people who are honestly critiquing his writing.
Right.
Because there is a difference between an honest critique of his writing, but the ones like, this is this, it's this, it's this, it's this, then, it's exposition is a horrible monster in storytelling. It is the monster every writer hates.
But it's necessary.
It is necessary. Do I feel, as someone who's watched every Who a billion times, I do not think his exposition is any clumsier, and at times it could be clumsy, and at times Moffat's exposition is clumsy. Because sometimes you're just saying stuff to kind of explain what you've just done. But it's no more clumsy. But they bang on it. It's just, there is a level of, it's because, and I have no idea what drives this in fans. I don't want to say why people, and why this era has, because you remember I was very defensive of Moffat when we were covering Moffat.
We did.
Because we felt we were being attacked.
Right.
However as tacked as I felt for liking Moffat on social media was then, it is nowhere near as bad as some of the stuff that's going on with Jodie. And people go, well, and I'll wrap this up, but I was talking to somebody else yesterday about something, and not about, just about fandom and negative positive. And it's like, I'm positive about this, and we were kind of talking about Jodie. And he goes, I don't understand people just automatically be positive about anything. And I just was like, because, and I was thinking is, some of the negativity is, it's harder to be negative about something than it is to be positive. If I go say something, I like vanilla ice cream, I don't want someone to come up to me that I do not know, that I've not asked for their opinion, to tell me, no, chocolate's better and here's why you're wrong.
Right.
And it's aggressive.
Well, one, I don't know how you can be obviously positive, start from a place of positivity about something, suggests that the right starting place is to be negative about something, and I don't want to walk through the world that way.
Yeah, it is. And
right? Like, let's just say that and I don't think this is true, but everybody ought to be passive or neutral, right? And let something sway you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But walking around negative, I actually had a grandmother like that. Well, but you know what?
I had a mother like that.
Right, but her life experiences had actually shaped her to be like it. But, excuse me, seriously, the way to walk through the world is to say what new is coming next that I might enjoy, right? Like, and the older I get, the more I'm like, I'm sitting here looking out at the sun dappling through some trees and seeing the sunlight, right? Like, the sunlight is so beautiful, right? Now I also see that I got a lot of work out there that I got to go do, but at the same time, it's beautiful. And so, so if you feel like you're sort of negative, ready, skeptical to receive anything, check yourself and see if you wouldn't be in a better mental space if you didn't try, right? It's mindfulness, right?
Yeah.
Express gratitude, be happy. The older you get, the more you'll find that, and the people who are happy the older they get are the people who start out with positivity. But so that's just a take.
Yeah, no, I get you, and it's just, and I think what gets it is sometimes like, and after the next episode we're going to talk about, there's been a lot of, it comes back up, and as we get closer to the centenary, and a lot of the stuff was a lot more negative. Oh, I can't wait till they're gone. I hate them. It's like, I'm very good about editing our feed.
Yeah,
I'm incredibly anal about it, and I have my new comic feed, and I've noticed sometimes I've seen a boost on that one, and I started to look at some people going, "Oh wow," because I don't get it. I don't get negative stuff coming at us on our feed because I block. If I see someone who is, I think, just stirring pots, I block them and or mute them.
Right.
I don't block them. I mute them. I only block you if you're awful. But I noticed that a guy said I picked my 9 favorite Avengers, blah blah blah. I do it every once in a while, and it gets a lot of input. And someone goes, "These were horrible," and I messaged, "What makes you say some of the characters were horrible?" And then I went and looked at his feed and went, "Oh, he's a comic gamer." Boom, blocked. And then I realized that some of these people are getting through the algorithm at me, so I now have to police them, and I do it here. And I just think it's a lot of it, and I've seen other podcasters go on a 6-post thing about this is why this era has been subpar to me, and I'm like going, that must have taken hours to queue, and I'm like going, do I dislike anything? I'm more, if I dislike it, I'm going to give you I'm going to make a quip and move on.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not... and I mean, you and me have gotten into deep discussions about art and theater and blah, 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 and had like one of us like it and the other not. I get it. But I just feel like the level of negativity we're seeing sometimes, it's just, God, the amount of energy you're putting into it.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sea Devils, and then we'll come to the elephant in the room. Do you want to do it that way, or do you want to bring up the elephant in the room?
Okay, the thing that's crossing over. Let's do Legends, and then we'll talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I liked Voyage of Sinbad and the Crimson Pirate. Okay, I saw Ray Harryhausen. I didn't care that the Sea Devil could leap 100 feet into the boat, and they were swinging on. People were complaining about Yaz and the Doctor swinging on ropes, and I'm like, it's a pirate story. I kind of think you're required by law to swing from one boat to another within the plot of a pirate movie. And it was spectacle, and I think it's meant as spectacle.
Yeah, but I also thought it was, I don't know, the energy again, right? The thing that I will argue technically about Chibnall's writing is pacing. He never lets up on the energy and the flow of the story. And that's one of the things. You're racing up to the top of the ship, and we're racing up to the poop deck and racing down to the, right? Like, it's always, and I think Jodie does that particularly well, where her arms are swinging and her legs are sort of going different directions as she comes running into a room. And the momentum is always there in the story. They're racing from one thing to another. And so this one played like an adventure story, which is what it was supposed to play as.
Yes.
And it was a swashbuckling grand adventure. The Doctor got to fight over a sword and duck out of the way, and and the companions got to too. And I don't know enough about combat theater combat training. We should get Dex on to talk about it, but Dex and I have mutual friends because he taught it to my friends, and so it was just a yarn, right? Like a rip-roaring yarn.
It's a Sunday on a bank holiday on a
I
3D.
enjoyed it.
I did too. I enjoyed it more the second time, and I knew it was coming.
I know, and I enjoyed it more than I did Eve of the Daleks.
I can't make that decision yet.
I did. I thought it was well done. I liked Madam Ching. I liked Jun Yu.
Dan is great in this. I really enjoy John Bishop as Dan.
Yeah.
He's got the Harry Sullivan thing role.
He does.
It does, and it's why I like Harry, because Harry was always, I'm the good friend. Yeah. The plot doesn't revolve around me.
Right.
I'm here.
But
to be
okay,
I'm the emotional support for the rest of the TARDIS team.
Yeah.
It's like Nyssa. Yeah. I mean, Nyssa fills that role in the crowded TARDIS.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. As much as I love Graham, because literally, it took until I was in my late 50s for me to have representation as a companion.
Okay.
I
still say Adric was there for you.
Ugh, but shit, I'd have. That's a kid. I would have bullied Adric in school. I would have bullied Adric in school.
I know you would have.
And not. But me and Jeff were talking about it, and I've talked about it recently. The more I get to see Matthew Waterhouse on, he's doing Behind the Sofa in the season 17 set, it's him and Colin Baker. And they're very funny, because when the big creature in the pit phallic comes out, they're just like, oh my God, what is this? Together. It's a circle. But I enjoy it. But I like Dan. I like this. I like the costume and someone referred to it as he's been Steven Tailored. Because of the Steven in the Gunfighter, where that Yaz dressed him that way. The doctor's like, "Did you do that?" She told me to wear this.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great, and they're ribbing back and forth. Hey, that's my mate. That's my mate. You're making fun of. That's my job.
Yes.
So yeah, I thought it was great.
And we're going to talk more about them and an aspect of their relationship, which is very heavily played in these last two stories, and is a continuation, which I liked that they have a reference back to those two and Jericho were by themselves for 5 years in the past.
Right.
And that their camaraderie is, I think it's lovely. I think it's great.
I think it really works.
I think it works. I don't think if it works more than her original co-companions.
No,
but it's different.
Good.
But you would think somebody's only getting he's different, but he's good. And Chibnall gives their relationship room to grow. He makes sure that it's message mentioned, and they talk about not a lot of exposition, but they don't have to explain it except for time passing title cards on the episode. I'm showing you Passage of Time. They're going to reference that they're better mates now. So I enjoyed it. It's a fun romp. It's got all the things you want from if Burt Lancaster had swung through with that big ass grin, I would have been a happy camper, because I do like the Crimson Pirate. It's a good pirate. Sure. There are good pirate movies, but
absolutely
they were
Captain
made.
Blood.
Oh my God! Yeah, they were all made.
Mutiny on the Bounty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Even the Mel Gibson.
All three of them. That would be all three of them.
All three of them. Right. So I enjoyed it. The Sea Devil looked great.
Oh my God!
Looked great.
I still say he looks like Nigel Farage.
Yeah, sure. But there's a little wrinkle that he can do on his lips that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's great. Now I have to add, because I don't think you've seen this. There's some bonus footage on the one that's airing on BBC. And the first thing, who plays the Sea Devil? The same guy who played the puppy dog.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I like that. Because I love the Carvinista. We also have to talk about some. Yeah, we also have to have some Big Finish news too at the end.
So Carvinista is. Let me get the IMDb. So this guy, Craig Ells. Craig Ells played Carvinista.
Yeah.
Was in a play with Jodie. I want to say it was Antigone. It was a Greek thing. And
yeah,
he
that's
was
the one
in
that Eccleston. I think Eccleston was. Yeah,
it was Eccleston and Jodie and
Corleones?
And she was so excited. Yeah, National Theatre was Christopher Eccleston. Yeah, it was Antigone. So she said she was so excited that she was going to get to be with Craig again, because she's like, it's my buddy Craig, and she said, I got to do all this stuff with him. I haven't seen his face, She's like, he's coming back, but it's still not his face. But the other really nice thing about that she says about this is that that's the dad. The Yinki.
Yeah.
Yinki, she said, he's a Whovian.
Yeah, he is. I've followed his feed on Twitter for a while. He pops up in all the time.
And this is his first professional gig.
Yeah.
And she said, so to stand there and witness his face in the first scene we shot when he walked into the TARDIS was one of the greatest things that I've ever been party to. Like, she was so thrilled. She loves the love that people have for the show, and she really recognizes it and really gets it, and that's really cool. But they were talking about she was talking about what a great moment it was to see. So
I thought him and Dan made a good double act.
Yeah, Marlo Chan Reeves.
Yeah,
is his name.
What I also love is when they bring the other pirate captain over and they go, "Where's your crew?" And Dan goes, "We're the crew." He goes, I forget what he said.
Yeah.
This is going to end. We're doomed. It was a very Han Solo no, I'm sorry. That would have been a Princess Leia line.
It was. Yes. So this is a cool historical at some level, right? Because
I like the pseudo-historicals.
We've centered this around the character of Madame Ching, who was arguably, legend has it, that she's the most successful pirate who ever lived. That she had a pirate husband, but she took over. Madame Ching is amazing. But the legend of Madame Ching is amazing, and her forces were known as the Red Flag Fleet, right? And they had essentially total rule over the South China Sea and the whole area there. So she, the coolest thing is that she retired pardoned by the emperor. So
and died of old age running a gambling house.
Yeah, exactly. So she's really cool. Her name was Shi Yang or Qing Shi, and anyway, she's a fascinating character. The Ji-hoon character is an amalgam. The problem with him is that he was given the same name as a K-pop star, so it's really hard to sort of figure out
how
what's
much
going
you
on.
want to bet that's on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's an amalgam of several different Chinese pirates. Look, they are always trying to, anybody worth their salt is trying to center stories outside of the Western European white canon. And that is just and proper. That we do not make up the majority of the world, and we don't make up the majority of Who fans all over the world, and we should center stories around people of and around histories of other cultures and other things. We've done Richard the Lionhearted. Now it's time for Madam Chink, right?
Exactly. No, it's that was part of that conversation I was having at the comic talk, because I picked, I did my Avengers pick, and I put Ms. Marvel in it, the girl, and it was like, well, and somebody commented, I said, because it should. Entertainment needs to be representative of a bigger audience.
Right.
It's how you bring in, and I think by doing stories, I think Chibnall's been very good about. We had The Partition as a backdrop for a story.
It could not be a more important story for the population of the UK.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Not just the population of the former colonies, but the population of the UK is a vital story. Hell, it was a vital story in my family's life. So we got a review that was nice in some ways. In fact, I think it was completely accurate, that referred to us as being a little too woke sometimes. And what I would say is we appreciate your kind words. We appreciate that you listen. We would be happy to have a conversation with you. But you should just know that we try and keep our politics out of this. So you're not actually hearing how woke we are. But I don't think there is anything even I don't think there's anything aggressive. I don't think there's anything agenda pushy about saying that. We are not the only people watching this show. We are not the only people on the planet. And we are certainly not the only source of good stories. And so to the extent that people are looking everywhere for inspiration, for good stories, you as a Doctor Who fan, however many of you there are in the world, should be thrilled that they're looking everywhere and that they're building fandom by doing so. Maybe the political side of it would be, and there's some Asian kid out there who has just seen a hero in Doctor Who who looked like him, who didn't shoot the Doctor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Yeah.
But representation matters.
Yeah.
It just does.
I think it has to be. You have to be more and just as a business model, it makes freaking sense.
It makes absolute sense as a business
model.
That's
the thing is a lot of fans don't see, because fans become possessive, and that false sense of ownership.
Right. But if you haven't had enough stories done about your culture in how many years has this show been on the air?
50.
How old are you, Ross?
I'm 57, so it's
okay,
58.
So 58 years.
Oh.
If you haven't had enough stories,
it'll be 59 this year, and I'll be 58.
So that center your culture, right? Between the Crusades and the James the Sixth.
Heck, we got one. The gunfighters.
We got Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks. Yeah.
We have had stories that center the Western white European tradition, and it's okay for some stories to center other characters. It's not just okay, as you say, it's a good business model.
It's a good, you have to do it.
The next level down is that it's good for somebody to see themselves as a companion of the Doctor, as a friend to the Doctor. That's always good. If on one story it doesn't look like you, you know what? Neither does Carvinista.
Yeah, it makes it. And what I like, because people, the not my doctors, and some complaints about Jodie not liking Jodie's Doctor, and there are doctors that I like more than others. And me, I'm real fluid. I change with because of my philosophy of absorbing art is to take it in as past, present, and future all at one time.
Yeah, sure.
But there's little girls watching Jodie for the first time, and they're going, "Oh, I can be the hero. I can be the Doctor. I don't have to be a sidekick." Because I mean, companions are sidekicks, not in the more traditional comic book way. Some end up being that, and I think they're the less effective the less effective companions. Sometimes are ones that are too dimensional, and they just, you know what I mean. And in old Who, a lot of it comes from the actor.
Listen, what I'm thinking is that we always wind up calling this the Linda episode. I mean, the Doctor's barely in it. Rose is in it more, and she walks out the TARDIS, slaps Elton in the face.
Oh yeah,
and it's a great moment, right? Like she has as much to do with doing good on this planet, you know, as the Doctor does. So does
Donna. I mean,
Donna.
Donna.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
she frees the Ood more than the Doctor ever did, because the Doctor wouldn't do it unless Donna was there. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
the newer companions would work that out a little bit better, but still, no.
Well,
I
think that's a part of modern Who is that the companion has a more integral part in the plots most of the time.
Yeah. But how many people did we grow up with who admired Black Lightning in the comic books?
Yeah. I mean, he was a big character in the 80s and 90s. He was a lead in a book, but yeah, I mean.
But to have somebody that represented them.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To have somebody that represented them. Like Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about Black Panther in a really beautiful way, in some articles that he wrote at the time that he was taking over the show, the comic.
There's a great comic out there called The Other History of the DC Universe, and it's by, Tom Ridgway, I think. And it's basically the history of the black superheroes in a narrative, not as in like a reference book, in a narrative of how they're in the background changing, having a huge effect on the DC universe. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
So now we hit the elephant in the room?
Yeah. We're talking Thasmin? Is that
whatever.
Thasmin?
Yeah.
All right. I do want to... I'll let you start, because I have an opinion.
No, you start, because I want to listen, and then I've got two takes.
Okay. I like that they finally did it. I like the scene where Dan goes, "When are you going to tell it? Tell her." I find that scene, and then the opposite scene that he has with the Doctor in Legend of the Sea Devils, as what a mate does. I'm going to say the thing that you're not going to say. Because I love you. She's like, how can you tell? That scene with her and Dan is Amanda Gill, John Bishop and Amanda Gill are amazing in that scene.
Oh, the one with the tears coming down her eye? Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I like all the stuff that's going on in Legend. And I want to say this. I'm not big on shipping because it's not part of my fandom, my fan brain. But I understand it. I understand that fans do it, and it's great. I've seen people say that this was not earned, and I'm going to say bullshit. Because there's something about Yaz's, and I'm going to use not the best word, but I'm going to use this word. Her connection to the Doctor is hinted at being very, very stronger than the others. She's really upset when the Doctor goes away for 18 months when the Doctor's in prison. You know what I mean? She and the Doctor are tighter. They would send Ryan and Graham off separate, and the Doctor this is very earned.
With me, the Doctor says. Yeah.
Yes. So it is earned. There is something unwritten that I feel in Mandip Gill's performance projecting toward this. I think it's why the fans see it. And why Chibnall did these two scenes and is tying up his story for these two people in this manner. I think it works. I think, and that the Doctor is uncomfortable. This Doctor is uncomfortable with human interaction. She's not the first Doctor to have this problem. Matt Smith Doctor is like this. He has to ask, am I doing this right? But even more so with her. She's protective of her. She's guarded. And I like it. I like it. I think it all works, and I'm glad that they're doing it. I like how it was going. What's your take on it? Because
Well, my first take on it, as I picked up on it was coming, right? That we got inklings of it, and then it happened. Was the first conversation happened in Eve of the I did not want it. I really didn't want it, and I had to really examine that. And it's because I didn't want the hate. I'm exhausted right now.
Yes. I can see that.
I'm exhausted from so many attacks on my community that are getting worse and worse and worse all the time. There are, it's mostly gay dads who are being stopped on the street and having their children asked, "Are you safe? Are you okay?" Like there's so many stories about the grooming and pedophilia remarks from right-wing media having an impact on people. We know that hate crimes are up against the LGBT community, and there have been over the course of the entire pandemic. And we're getting a lot of backlash for the advances that we've had over the last decade or so. And I'm exhausted, and I didn't want any more. And that was, I think, the truth behind me saying, I don't need it. I don't want it. I think that's the ultimate truth. I'm tired, and I don't want anybody to attack me, my family, or my community right now. So that's not really a fair take on it, because it's so selfish.
But it's your take. It's how art affects you in the moment.
I know. It did.
It's a perfectly honest take.
It was. Well, there was an objection that I think that surfaced a little bit sooner that I was trying to articulate. That is this. I think that the artist ought to be the one to come up with it. And by that, I mean the writer. The person who's telling the story would know if organically that's correct. And so this sense of fan pressure, I was objecting to and saying, listen, it shouldn't come from the fans. It should come from the art. It should. And then I started to think about it. And so this is a larger take on media that we should have some other time. But when you look at the consumption of media now, and I'm looking at it in a teenager, I'm a fan of Critical Role. And Critical Role is a live-streamed cooperative storytelling performance that has engaged the masses. And, it's the most successful Kickstarter ever, and they've got a great Amazon Prime season that's an adult cartoon. It's fantastic. But I watch it tape delayed, right? Like I watch it later. I don't watch it live because it's West Coast, but during the game, players have looked at the Twitch stream chat, realized something about what is happening at the table, and it changes their reaction and their behavior as a character in the story, right? My kid watches YouTubers live, Twitchers live, right? People who are cooperatively storytelling, and there's a constant stream next to them that gives them suggestions on what to do or how to play it, or the cooperative, the shared experience of watching something, the shared experience of telling a story is on the increase. And so I think we're going to see our media change and our art change, that this is the direction and the future of storytelling. And I support that by saying, look at the way that Marvel has done some things with casting, right?
Yes.
Like they actually give in and say, you're right. This is the right person to cast, or do this, or do, like they are giving into fan pressure, to use the negative phrasing, increasingly, because again, it's part of the successful business model, right?
This is the business.
It is a business. but it's also how do you create success at any level? It's like listen to the consumers of it. And so because we have all of these opportunities and ways of chiming in that we never had before. I never wrote a fan letter to anybody.
Yeah.
But I've certainly chimed in on a Twitter feed. I had an exchange with Martina Navratilova one time.
I started a Twitter feed, and Kurt Busiek, who's one of my favorite comic writers, about Avengers. He wrote one of the great Avenger runs, and he writes Astro City, which I love. But and I bowed out of the conversation because he had commented on my stuff. But him and another gentleman on my feed, I was like, oh my God, I'm having a conversation with Kurt Busiek, one of the great comic writers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So all of these instant communication modules allow us to do this, and so it is I think going to change our way of consuming media. I think it's going to. So like I said, that was my first sort of, I think the artist and the writer ought to be able to. No, and I think I didn't want it because it was just going to hurt. It was just going to hurt when people came out and said ugly things about it.
And I didn't think of that. And I've been going off on rants about this new far right grooming assault attack messaging because I saw the thing about the guys on the train.
Yeah.
And that made me like going, these guys are better men than I am, because if it was me, and then the state senator from the state of Michigan.
Yeah, she was great.
She was because she didn't go high. She defended herself, which I liked.
Yeah.
She didn't try to go play. Look, I'm this ethereal, better than. No, you're coming at me. Yeah.
That's what I told my kid, because we were talking about this, because this is on the increase and happening to, like I said, it's more often gay dads, because men are the pedophiles in the world, right? Men are responsible for child trafficking and things so they're getting attacked. But so I talked to my kid about it, and I said, I was telling her about it, and she got a look of concern upon her face, and then defensive. And I said, listen, do you know who Mr. T is? And she said, no. And I said, okay, he was a actor, and he had a catchphrase, I pity the fool. And that's what I said. I said, I pity the fool that tries to talk to us, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're privileged, we're white, we're, have plenty of money, right? We've got the ability to speak up for ourselves, and we have powerful friends who can help us out, right? Like we're fine. But most importantly, we have our words, and we have special training in how to use our words. So I pity the fool that would say something to us, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean it's not going to hurt my child. Having to listen to it, having to know that it exists, hurts my kid. But also, I'm noticing a shift in the way that people, mostly strangers, are talking to me. I'm just noticing a shift. And whereas we had learned to experience, we're just going backwards. We had a couple of years where we were free from sort of the flinch and the blink, blink, blink. When they found out that I was talking about my wife, we'd had a couple of years of reprieve, and it's back now, and that's hard. But let me say this about Doctor Who and romance in the TARDIS.
That's a legitimate thing.
Yeah, I think it is.
I do too.
We didn't see it in Old Who. Like the only relationship that the Doctor really had, was with Susan. And we knew that the inference there is that he'd had a family, but we don't know. He may have just called her that. There's certainly, in what we consider canon in Big Finish, there is confirmation of that. But throughout Old Who, we didn't have that. In fact, we had a very paternal relationship between Ace and Seven that works, fires on every level, and is never creepy. He's creepy, but not towards Ace.
Yeah.
The next thing we have is 9. It's perfect, right? Nines. There's no romance. With 10, there is this increasing sense of her admiring the Doctor when he's 9, getting him in a different package, right? There's this, and their separation and their loss, that moment on two sides of the wall is poignant and heartbreaking. I was, he'd feel that way if it was Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
Right? He'd feel that way if it was Harry. He'd feel that way for the loss of any companion. I didn't read it the way that a lot of people did, and Davies paid that out in a way that's a little weird, but still fine, right?
Yeah.
It's a Doctor with one heart, which makes it possible because he's going to live a normal life.
Yes.
And that's what is explained here in this story, right? Because you get with 11 gets a romance, right? 11 and 12 get a romance with River.
Yes.
And what works about that is that she's a child of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
She's different. She's not a human. She's different. And then this emphasizes the Doctor's feelings about this. And I thought that the conversation they had in the basement of the Sea Devil ship, whatever that was, the bridge, I don't know. And then the one on the beach.
Mm-hmm. The one on the beach is really uncomfortable.
It's really heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah.
And she's doing it. Doesn't Matt's Doctor say that to someone at some point? I will grow old and die. No, that's a David thing. I'll grow old and everybody with me dies.
Yes. It's the logical conclusion because we've watched so many humans come through the life, and some of them are coming back.
Yeah, no,
and that's so exciting. I know, but this is the Doctor's life, and that it's gonna hurt. And so the fact that the Doctor is acknowledging feelings and deciding to not act on them is consistent with who the Doctor is. We're getting a little bit more insight into why the Doctor has not had relationships previously that we've seen in old Who, right? Like we're getting an understanding, a deeper understanding of who this character is and what motivates this character, the Doctor, right? A funny line about, my wife, I was a different man then, right? Those are great, but all we're doing is getting a deeper understanding of why the Doctor is typically alone and not partnered. With anybody in a way that is more than purely platonic. Yeah. And that's what the Doctor asks for, and it breaks Yaz's heart, and it breaks her own heart, but it's the way that the Doctor has decided to live. Now it breaks our heart. Well, that's kind of we know that. Yeah. Yeah.
We know that's what's coming too.
We know what's coming, and that's the part that's so heartbreaking, is that it's actually foreshadowing.
Yes.
And I think done very well.
Yes.
So I was nervous going into this. I did not want a full-on romance between the two of them.
I get what you're saying, and I didn't think of that. Because my thing is, is he giving it? Did he change his mind and give it to the fans? I think he did. I think he went, I think I was just going to give them a great friendship, because they have a great friendship. But I think he sees where it's earned. Yeah, I think he sees.
The actors asked for it.
Yeah, the actors asked for it, and I think you see it in Mandip Gill's performance from the get-go.
I agree.
There is a longing. Her friendship was more than, say, Clara's or Donna. You know what I mean? There was something about her possessiveness of the Doctor that it's subtextual. It's from her. It's what I was getting from her performance. So I think
we use the phrase hero worship.
Hero worship. That's a good term.
Is what it starts out as.
Yes. And here's my thing with modern Who, and Davies brought this in, is in old Who, Most companion departures are crap. They're terrible. They don't make sense. You've got a handful of good ones. It's normally crap. We got to write them out. Their contracts are over, or I'm firing them. Maureen O'Brien is okay. Stevens is like, what the hell? Dodo is just sent off in episode 2, and we never see her again in a story.
Yeah, but we're grateful.
Yeah. I've liked that they have a new Dodo in the audios, and I'm looking forward to hearing her because she's done one, and it was cool. It was a timey-wimey first Doctor, second Doctor crossover. And I think in Modern Who there is a greater emotional connection written into the Doctor companions' storylines. And I think for people, sometimes it works for me. I'm just going to talk about me. Sometimes it works for me. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's really just, Rose. I find I have issues with the Rose relationship because she's a child. She's 18 and he's 900.
Yeah.
It's kind of oogie. And I find the Metacrisis Doctor a little. I don't like that ending. But that episode has two bad endings. Two rough endings.
Yeah.
And that's all they're doing it. I agree that I think the Doctor should not have a relationship with a human.
I think the Doctor feels that way.
Yeah. And I think the Doctor should feel that way. And I know a lot of people and older fans going, well, they never kissed in the TARDIS before, but it's not 1970. It's not 1980. It's 2022.
Right.
It's a change in
they
how...
never kissed in the TARDIS before, and Lucy and Desi slept in single beds.
It's you need to. I mean, if you want to take this down to a more the way Sarah Jane chronicles, Sarah Jane Adventures, as a TV show, formatted as this is a children's show, and I think Sarah Jane Adventures is it's an amazing show.
Yeah.
But that's a children's program. This is a family program. And they need something called drama. And if you want one and done, it's a way of thinking. And I think Chibnall did more a Classic Who. I think his show feels more like Classic Who than Moffat's and Davies ever did. Because I think he wanted that. He wanted a little of that. But he also was going to do some big things, The Timeless Child. And he chose to have an emotional arc with Yaz and the Doctor. And I think I like it. I like those scenes. I think the 2 scenes with Dan were great in the last 2 episodes, and I think that scene on the beach was great. And I think it's going to lead up to the Centenary special and her farewell. And Mandip's farewell.
No, it's foreshadowing.
It's
foreshadowing.
I think it's going to be great.
And it's handled well. But I agree with you that I actually think that the center of the show has shifted back towards the original intent of the show.
Yeah.
That this is a family show, and I cannot, as much as I enjoy Blink and other classic Moffat stories, I cannot see a 10-year-old kid being enthralled and understanding Blink. Right? Which is frequently touted as one of the greatest episodes of Doctor Who ever. But it's not a family. It's not a family story. It's a very complicated.
Listen would be very complicated for a 10-year-old.
Absolutely, one of my favorite episodes.
But things like I just rewatched The Beast Below. They'd get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but see, but I think Modern Who, I think Chibnall, and I think Timeless Child would be difficult for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before is that I feel like Davies was writing for himself as the teenage young adult.
Yeah, he was writing for him as what he wanted to see when he was 15.
What he wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I think that Moffat, I've said this before, Moffat writes it as a parent, right?
This is a story I want to tell my kids.
Yeah. Like, this is my experience of being a parent. And so there's even Amy is a parent.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's fairy
like,
tales. It's stories you tell your children.
Yep.
I'm listening to Flight through entirety, and I feel very validated. It's like, oh, all of you are seeing what I see, that it's a fairy tale. Because they're big, I'm getting the feeling they're big Matt fans and Moffat fans, that especially season 5, it's a fairy tale.
I think it's a great fairy tale, and I think it's wonderfully told. And I have no objections to the way Moffat does it. But Moffat is also very flashy, and he's very big speech, and there's a whole lot of, as you said earlier, subtext in Moffat that's going to go straight over a kid's head. And that's what makes it enjoyable for us, is because it's so multi-layered. Mm-hmm. But I think Chibnall says, let's go back.
Let's go back a little bit more.
Let's have proper histories, right? Let's have proper historicals. Let's teach, right? Let's have morals. Let's go back to who was supposed to be a family show that taught important lessons. And I think he's doing it, and I think that's alienating people who are longtime fans of the show.
Yeah, I don't, and I think it's,
and I don't think he cares.
I don't think he doesn't care. I mean, I hate to say it, and he's not his job to care.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of naysaying and doom and gloom that the show is, the ratings are weaker. I think every show's ratings are diluted now because there's so many people streaming so many different things. There's a smorgasbord.
It's not even diluted. It's no longer relevant.
Yeah.
You can't, because I don't have cable. You know,
yeah, how do you count? How are you counting me?
Yeah, you're not.
You're not. A lot of stuff's not getting counted. But I also think the show has gone through. It's been back for 17 years. So I think some dichotomy is fans. It's fans claim territory and where they joined and what they think is right. Well, Davies is the best. This is the best. No, that's the best for you. You know, I'm a Moffat guy. I will always probably like Moffat more than Davies or Chibnall, but I love both Davies and Chibnall because that's
now,
just.
What would be awesome at some level is if they could do the Star Trek model, which is, hey, we have some seriously dark stories that we want to tell.
I think that's
right.
Yeah.
And so we have this franchise for that, is Torchwood,
which we're getting the same creative team back together: Tranter, Gardner, Collinson, Davies, who were about spin-offs, and when they say and he has said Marvel it, and I think what he's thinking of what Marvel and Disney are doing with their properties is that it's again the business model. I just was on a conversation thread with the guys from Sing to Space, and I didn't chime in because it was a big finish thing, but I just didn't have anything really important to say. But they were talking about business model. Yeah, that's a good term because they're going to be. BBC shifting it over to a private company is they want someone else to take the chance on the new business model.
Yeah, right. And everybody's going to trust the guy who's in charge of that, or at least a major player in that corporation. These people have handled this franchise well in the past, and they'll do it again.
And Gardner at the top.
Yeah.
That that's it's more for them. I think. They get Davies as part of the package as the writer, but
he's the name for the majority of people, right?
Yeah, he is
not
the name,
you.
but the ones that can go out there and create.
Yeah.
Let's do an Ace series where do a Sarah Jane kind of show with Ace and Tegan because we're going to get to that next.
Yeah,
you could do it.
I mean, but let me just say though, and remind people that criticize Chibnall all you want, but you need to remember that he ran Torchwood.
Yeah, kind of.
He ran that show for a time. The man has the chops to do all these things.
Yeah.
And you want to say he's a crap writer.
Yeah. I get you don't like his style. It's people. I'm a Moffat fan, and people don't like Moffat. And I get it. It's an aesthetic. It's an opinion on taste. It's not.
That's fine, but to say specifically that he's terrible at the technical aspects of, ignores.
Yeah.
Things like 42. 42 is a fantastic episode. It's a fantastic episode of Doctor Who, and I'll argue that to my grave. But it's base under siege. They did it to themselves, right?
Yeah.
Straight out of Barry Letts, Who, right?
Oh yeah.
And the Doctor's working his butt off and his companion is racing against the clock. It is a fantastic episode of Doctor Who. And people want to say that this guy can't write. And so they're wrong about that. You're welcome to dislike it. You're welcome to say, a female doctor, not for me. Okay? But that's not what they're saying. They're saying it can't be. This is wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And it's no different than the people who are objecting to same-sex marriage. Well, then don't have one. Right? Right? That's what, right? I'm pro-life. Well, good. Don't have an abortion.
Yeah.
Good. That's what choice means. You get to not have one. You get to not have a same-sex marriage. You get to not watch Doctor Who if you don't like casting decisions. That's fine. If you're a racist and you see Martha Jones is going to join the TARDIS team and you can't stand to look at her, don't watch. Don't watch. You know? Mm-hmm. Those are options.
Yeah.
And you can say, I don't like it. Okay.
And don't like it.
I respect that. I don't respect you. I don't have to respect your reasons for not liking it if you're a racist. Mm-hmm. But I will respect your right to not like it and to choose not to watch it. Just like, my kid hasn't watched this season of Jodie with me. Makes me sad. But she's got other things she wants to do with her time. Okay. She'll sit down and binge it someday.
Yeah.
But seriously, don't watch. But not my doctor. Okay. Fortunately for you, you have 58 years of Doctor Who to watch.
Exactly.
You've got Big Finish to tell great stories. You have books and novelizations and new adventures and all sorts of great stuff. Knock yourself out. Isn't it nice that there's 58 years of stories out there? Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I just don't,
No, it's a sense of loss of power, and it's a sense of loss, and it's a fear of new and unknown, and that's fine.
And a control thing. I had
to recognize that the reason I was saying I don't want it, I don't need it, was actually because I'm tired, and I don't want the drama. This is my escape. I don't want the drama because there's so much drama in my life about this stuff. I just want to be left alone to enjoy something. And so I had to dive down and look at what my reasons were. Look at yours and see what it is you don't like about the Doctor being a woman, what you don't like about Chibnall changing canon, what you don't like about the fact that Yaz develops a crush on the Doctor. You know what? Then you've never been in a girls' school, a women's college, a girls' school. Those types of crushes are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And people make decisions about whether or not they want to ever act on those sorts of feelings, and those are their decisions to make. But they happen. They happen. So stop pretending like they don't happen. And that's exactly how it was sort of handled. Because the Doctor said, yeah, you're the greatest of all of my companions, right? Like, you've been awesome, and you're my favorite person right now. And what is a relationship other than you're my favorite person? Right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't have to have all the political baggage that people are putting on it. She's got a schoolgirl crush, and it's kind of reciprocated, and they are good together.
Yeah.
But the Doctor is however many hundreds of years old now and doesn't want to watch Yaz get old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing. We'll see what happens. So let's go on to what's next, because we everybody I had to rewind it to make sure I saw it, but we got the trailer for the centenary. We get to see, we've got Sacha Dhawan back as the Master. And he looks clean shaven, and he looks like Rasputin in the same. So I'm kind of wanting to see what that is. And we're seeing that Ace and Tegan are coming back. That blew my mind. I didn't catch it was Janet Fielding at first. I had to go, who is it? She's only on for like a second. And it's moving, and the trailer is meant to move frickin' at lightning pace. But
everything Chibnall does moves at lightning pace.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. You got Kate. I mean, it's going to have Daleks, Cybermen, Kate.
The lone Cyberman.
Lone Cyberman's back.
Cyberman,
Shad's back. The Master's back. Someone pointed out that when we see Jodie's hands regenerating, that it looks more like the memory energy coming out of when Ruth gets her memories back. It's not the traditional yellow regeneration. There's some red flame in it, and it looks exactly like when Ruth got her memories back from the alarm at the lighthouse.
That's so cool.
So there's a lot to go forward. We're looking forward to it. There is a rumor floating around. I think it's just a rumor that we may know who the next Doctor is in the next few weeks.
No, I think that's actually BBC has said
it was that okay.
It will be.
I haven't had
think
a chance
BBC said they'll, and I think it's in the next 4 to 5 weeks it's going to happen. But they know that they have.
They have to announce it because it'll leak. What it is, I
It'll
think they're
leak,
going is. We're 6 months out from the episode. Right. How long can we keep it a secret? I mean, if they can keep it a secret up into the regeneration, I don't want to even imagine what social media would be then. So.
Well, Jodie's reveal aired during Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And that's coming up. Right, isn't that usually the first week of June?
Yeah, because they're talking in the news for other reasons.
So they aired it then. So I think we might see something similar.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited about it. And then yesterday, you folks, you'll get this next week. But yesterday at Big Finish Day, another big announcement came out that Big Finish will be producing Fugitive Doctor series starring Joe Martin as the Fugitive Doctor, and there's another Master series coming out called Call Me the Master with Sacha Dhawan, which is great because I listened to the Eric Roberts box set and I didn't really care for part of it, but by the end of the 3 episodes I was like going, oh, I really like your Master because you're just freaking evil. I mean, he's just a terrible terror. It's none of this, the Derek Jacobi sometimes does good because it suits his purpose, and the Missies are comedies. But I'm looking forward to the Sacha Dhawan stuff. I'm looking forward to Joe Martin. Some really nice people are working on them both. Some of their young, new, talented editors that I follow on our feed are getting to work on it. Dominic, who plays in a series of audio plays the Purple Doctor because he wears a purple suit. He is the assistant editor on one of them, and I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun. I mean, Big Finish, there's a lot of it. There's just too. I'm behind now, but those are things I will want to listen to. I'm glad that they did it so quickly. Let's see how quick it is until Jodie goes to Big Finish, because I would like to see what they do with her. And I think she would be, she'll be she's going to be a mom soon on maternity leave. You can record from home, Jodie.
She is a mom, right?
Yeah, she's already a mom, but now she got a new one on the way.
She got a new one on the way.
Yeah.
Because you got to time that stuff around really good gigs.
Yes. Look, Tennant does tons of this stuff now, and that's always great. Well, folks, you can. We're gonna bow out now, but you can find us You can find us in the Twitterverse at Gallifrey's MW Pod or at Runsell Report. But we will be back. Me and Vic will be back next time with Ghostlight.
Yeah.
But until then, we look forward to seeing you all somewhere in time or space.